Hello, and welcome to TBH Beyond Borders podcast. This is season 2, and it's on video, so it's going to be different. Unless if you're hearing this on audio, in which case, A, it's pretty much the same, and also B, you missed an awesome transition. And I'm here with Ocean, the Brisbane International Student Ambassador for Hong Kong, and there's so much I want to get into, Ocean. Where do we start? First of all, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me here.
Okay, welcome.
That's the most iconic opening, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So Ocean is, I would like to call you like the Mark Zuckerberg of UQ, but without all the bad things that Mark Zuckerberg does.
No, that's too much.
So the reason I think it's apt for you to be here as a first guest for our first episode of the second season is because both of us are passionate about two things. Mm-hmm. One is the international student community, and the second is to start something, to create something. For you, it's a startup. For me, it's a podcast. But entrepreneurship in general is something both of us are really interested into. And in my case, if there's a link between both of those, which is international students and the podcast, the same also applies for you. And that is where Startup Interns comes in. So if you could tell us about Startup Interns.
Sure. So I started an organization called Study Interns.
Yep.
Start with a problem. So myself as an international student, I see the problem of international students getting jobs, getting employment, even volunteering or internship opportunities.
Yep.
So and back in the days, I was volunteering, I was interning for a few startups in UQ at the iLab Accelerator program. And I just amazed by the whole startup ecosystem in Queensland, in Australia. Not only the technology we have, but also the energy, the enthusiasm startup founders embody.
Yep.
So I really want to encourage that energy and that mindset to international students to build employability skills and enhance their entrepreneurial mindsets.
Yep.
And those skills are really transferable for their career, for their personal life, professional life. So I started my organization Startup Interns. What we do, we do different initiatives. We run workshops. We got a grant from Study Queensland last year to run an employability accelerator program.
Yep.
So we connect students and startups from River City Labs, one of the largest startup communities in Queensland.
Like Silicon Valley of Queensland.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So we do experiential learning programs. So we connect students and staff to do some project-based internship.
Yep.
So students, they work for the startup for 4 weeks, online and offline, and they pitch the problem that startup founders approach to the students back to the startup founders. So you got the project from the startups and you pitch your solutions back to the founders.
Okay.
So in international educations or in universities, we call that work integrated learning.
Okay.
But the difference we are making is we connect students and startups. That's a pretty new and pretty interesting combinations.
It's also an interesting combination because it solves a huge problem that an international student faces. So what I really like and admire about Startup Interns and also what you do is that you saw a problem with such a huge community, which is that international students don't get employment opportunities as easily because of flexible or rigid actually visa conditions, and also because they are in a new environment, they don't have a network to get into work as easily.
Yeah.
So you saw that problem and you found a solution in startups because they are more open-minded to diverse individuals and individuals with, who might not be able to commit as much.
Yeah.
So that is what I really admire about Startup Interns, that you saw a problem with a huge community and you saw a solution in something that you're passionate about, and you also connected the two and also started Startup Interns to do that.
Yeah. We actually started off as a tech company. So in the beginning, we tried to build software to something like Seek, but for internship. So we got a list of the startup jobs and we got a list of students and matched them. Because when I was working with iLab, we see the problem of not only students finding internship, but also the onboarding process. So it's such a hassle for them to find the faculty to get their form, the issuance, and then sign it, send it to the founders, sign it, send it back to the faculty. Just a lot of work, a lot of logistic need to take care of. So in the beginning, we were building a platform to make it more digital. So we were doing that for 2-3 months. And end up we find that there's a company in Melbourne doing exactly the same thing, and they are 2 years ahead than us, and they are like super cool. They have a good team. They have a lot of experience and a lot of money.
You basically built the Hinge, but for international students finding employment opportunities, and then you found out, okay, Tinder exists.
So yeah, so we changed our whole business model. We changed to more like.
So what the technical term would be, you pivoted.
Yes. Oh, we're on the same page. Yes, we do.
Startup lingo.
Yeah. So but now the company in Melbourne is called Outcome Live.
Don't shout them out. Don't plug them.
Wait, we are partners right now.
Okay.
Actually, we work really close. So they're based in Melbourne, and when they extend.
Sorry, what is it again?
Outcome Live.
Outcome Live. Great company. Best.
Yeah. So that's how you tackle problems. Like, as an entrepreneur or as a founder, when you see different issues, different problems, how you play with that, how you change your competitions into partnership. That's something I have learned like throughout the journey. So that's a really good learning. Yeah. So I always tell people entrepreneurship is not only for entrepreneurs. It's also for everyone who want to be more entrepreneurial, want to build their mindsets, their skills, to act like an entrepreneur in their organizations.
Yeah.
So we
and
call
I
that
think
entrepreneurship.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that was something that I was really, that's something that you speak about, which I found really fascinating, is that if you're an entrepreneur but in a company, which is great if you're someone who has entrepreneurial mindset, but you also haven't necessarily started your own company. That's something that you can still combine and work for a company with the same mindset. So entrepreneurship is a concept that I learned because of you and that I'm very fascinated by.
Yeah, I mean, all those skills are transferable, like collaborations, problem solving, critical thinking, being resilient, like all those skills, all those professional skills, enterprise skills, like you can transfer them to your career. Like I mean, whether you're running your own startup, you're working for people. So definitely, yeah.
And also speaking of transferring these skills, I think you recently concluded the startup employability accelerator program, or you recently concluded SEAP, and that was basically teaching international students and also domestic students these skills.
So it's for 5 weeks. So 1 week for online modules and 4 weeks for experiential learning. So in the first of the experiential learning program, we have an induction day. We have some workshops for students to mingle with the startup founders and a few industry professional as well. And then they work throughout the program. And in the final week, week 5, they pitch their solutions at River City Labs. So more like a startup style
like
pitching and
crash course. But basically, those 5 weeks took you a year to come together. Like you had to speak to different members, the board, the governments, the education board, and different institutions. So how was that process? How did you start with an idea and then through 1 year later reached at a point where you were helping people learn these skills?
Yeah. So for the program itself is for 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
And for the preparation ourselves, me and my co-founder, is for like 1 year and a half almost.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a long time. It's great to see stuff from nothing turn into something. And it's really encouraging to get the IET partnership fund from Study Queensland within Trade Advancement Queensland to run this initiative. A lot of learning, a lot of hustle. We went to different stakeholders, different education institutions to pitch our project, to talk to different startup founders to make sure we have the right market validations. So we need to make sure students are willing to work for startups and startups are willing to get students or offering projects to the students to work.
So out of these two, which one did you find was more difficult to have startup owners be more willing to accept students, or for students to be more open-minded towards startups?
Yeah, absolutely. For startups getting students on board, because it's a really new program. No one have done that before in Queensland, at least. And I do believe the industry, or for a lot of employers, they see international students as disadvantage.
Like a liability.
People are not speaking good English and like only can work for 20 hours and a lot of barriers and stuff. So there's still a little bit like, a little bit education we need to do to the industry. So
But the fact that this program was a success means that the idea of startup founders or startups being more open to international students was a success.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
would you say I'm sure there's more growth to be done in the sector of companies, not just startups, being more open and more employability opportunities being available for international students. But as of a year, 1.5 years later after the program, are you satisfied with the outcome that you saw?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely can see the growth of the students.
Yeah.
Just seeing them from the first email they sent to us, like really casual and professional.
Yeah.
To in the final, we see like those professional email with their signature blog and just really encouraging.
Yeah.
Like see the growth and the way that they pitch, the way that communicate with other people, work with other people. Yeah, definitely can see they have learned a lot
Yeah.
from the program. And also the long-term relationship, the like lifelong mentorship they got from the startup and their mentors.
Yeah.
So that's really encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout, you mentioned earlier that you started with an idea, and then 18 months later you had a product or an event in this case that helped students. So during this journey of you creating or you making SEAP happen, what is the one thing that you would advise students who also want to create something in this space? Like, what is the one takeaway from your entire 18-month long intensive journey?
Yeah, definitely find co-founder. Yeah, not only sharing the workload, but also when you are like struggling and when you're crying, you have someone to talk to. And when you're sick, someone to work for you. And that's a support. I mean, for those who want to start a startup, definitely you need a team. Like people with different skill sets, different background, and just the diversities. And that's really can, like, I mean, you can walk fast if you're doing that alone, but if you want to walk far, you definitely need people to support you.
Is that an original quote?
Something like that.
I would get that on a t-shirt. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, sorry somewhere.
And your co-founder, DJU. So what was, how did that come to be? So was it two of you sharing the same ideas coming together? Or how did you find a co-founder? So for example, if the advice that we're giving to listeners is like, look, if you want to do this, find a co-founder. That will help. That will go a long way.
Yeah.
How did you find your co-founder?
Oh, he found me actually. So I started before him. Like I started 3 months before him. So before that, I started with another people to build the platform. But it didn't work out, and some people leave, and he joined in. So I guess so DJ and I were the ambassador for Study Brisbane back in our days, 2 years ago, and that's how we know each other. And I guess he was in his transitioning of his career as well. So he was transitioning from accounting to like international education and in this space. And he always wanted to do something like more techy and with innovation. So he sent me a message and we had a catch up and we're on the same page and then we do it together. So
and looking back, like that, one of the greatest decisions.
He's nice.
You might watch this, right?
I guess so glad we really understand each other. So we know each other really well, even before we start this initiative. And he worked full time, like and for his current job as well. So and I study full time as well. So
but that's the amazing part. That's why I love entrepreneurs, especially student entrepreneurs, is because you're working, you're doing everything that other people do. But then when you come home and people go to sleep, that's when you're awake and you're making this thing that that started from scratch and might become an empire. That blows my, because I speak to artists and the entire people who write poetry or films or just create content. The fascination that they have is that they created something that never existed before. And that's the same fascination that I feel with entrepreneurs, is that they created something in this huge world that just didn't exist before. So like looking back, like isn't that something, like when you look at startup interns or SEAP, don't you have like a feeling of just great satisfaction that this is something that just never existed and then you came together and you and DJU and this exists now?
Yeah, definitely. even just got the grants from Study Queensland.
Yeah.
That's pretty. This is a big achievement
Yeah.
because this is the first initiative funded by Study Queensland to current and former international students.
Yeah.
So suppose the fund is for education providers or the industry to apply, but me and DJ, we walk up to different education providers and say, hey, let's apply for the grants together. And then we got the grants. So, so that's a huge achievement for me like in my life so far. And also just keeping things smooth and running things and all the stakeholder management and yeah.
So just to clarify, you basically, so fund exists where institutions and education providers and government related bodies apply.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, I'm neither of those, but I'm going to get these people to look at what I'm doing and they're going to like it enough for them to come with me and apply.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, so I guess that's what we always talk about, collaboration in the sector and also in entrepreneurship as well. So you always need to work with other people. Like for us, we can't apply for the grants alone because we don't have the risk management, governors to support. That's why we work with Federation Uni. They take care of all those risks for us and we can just like focus on our operation and execute the ideas. Yeah.
That's also great. I have a lot of respect for Federation Uni. For encouraging and supporting programs like these. Another thing that I'm really interested to know about is like when you came from Hong Kong, when you came here to study business management and marketing, did you have anything in mind? Did you have maybe like a seed of thought that you would like to go into startups or maybe you would become an entrepreneur? Or is that something just like organically happened along the way?
I always want to try something new. I always want to start something up. That's even stuff in my primary school, like want to build something and sell something to people. I guess those attitude or those elements are inbuilt. And my father is like my dad. He runs a small business as well. So I guess just the culture.
In genes,
But after I started Startup Interns, I'm more appreciate his work and his contribution to the family because I see like all the hustle, all the hard work, and all the tears and blood. So and to be honest, I'm still like exploring the world. I'm still like figuring out what I like, what I don't like. I work for the Student Hub before, work for Multicultural Australia, an NGO. Our main clients are refugees and asylum seekers, but we do have initiative for international students, migrants, and all the newcomers to Queensland. So I work for NGO. I was on the board with Study Queensland with their advisory panel, so kind of know what the government agents are doing. I like the work they're doing, and I do like the passion and the energy they have, like the people have in the organization. So that's really cool.
I have a very important question. I think everyone's wondering, what do you not do? What have you not done? Because you've been a student leader. You've worked with Jenin on an innovation Jenin's Innovation Challenge as a youth consortium member. You've worked with governments. You've worked with agencies. You've worked with education providers. You've worked with NGOs. So what's next for Ocean? What is left? I think you've covered everything in life. What's next for Ocean?
I'm doing research with DQ University, so I'm trying to do something more academic. So I just want to see, because like look at my last 2 years, I wasn't really academic focused. But that's really interesting because I went to a conference last month in Melbourne. In Melbourne, and I walked up to a researcher and I was saying, hey, I have been doing a lot of stuff in entrepreneurship, international educations, but I haven't tried something in the academic landscape. So do you have any opportunities or do you have any projects for me to jump on? And now I'm doing some research with DQ University. So so far it's all right.
So now basically you were a great work professional and now you're going back to become a great student. That's really awesome. And especially when you mentioned your interest in student communities, international student communities, that's awesome because a lot of people will benefit from advocates and people who support the community like you are. One of the things that you recently came with is a free a map for all free services for international students in Brisbane. So there's like I think it's 50 plus free services that you've put together.
Yeah, so different categories. Employability is a big one. English learning, mental health and well-being, student award. So different categories like related to international students. Yeah, so different services. Yeah.
So for anyone who's oblivious to what I'm talking, it's basically he's created the yellow pages for international students in Brisbane. Like you've basically put together every resource or tool, all free, that students like you and me might require, which is, so how is that an idea did it come from like a bookmarks folder that you had, or like how did the idea came about?
Well, this kind of ecosystem map is really popular in the startup landscape.
Right.
So I get inspired by the, what's that called? So the startup ecosystem map or something like that. So it's showing like all the VC, all the venture capital, or the hubs, or the angel investors to startups. So I see like, okay, if that exists in the startup ecosystem, how about bring that to the international education?
Right.
Like kind of similar, like students looking for services, looking for initiative, and providers want to know what other people are doing as well. So how about just combine them together? So.
And I also want to mention that during my first friendship ceremony at City Hall, as an ambassador, you were the speaker. And one of the things that you spoke about is, one of the things that you've also written about is the guide to networking at events. And that was like the first article that I read when I came to Brisbane.
Ooh.
And till that point, I didn't have a LinkedIn. First, look, I'm not a great academic myself.
You're a scientist. You know LinkedIn, right? No, that's all right.
But then I read that article.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, he's right. I should get a LinkedIn. And then I saw you speak about your experiences a year ago at that ceremony. And I went home and I made a LinkedIn. So there's so much that you've done for international students. And there's also so much you've done for me with the podcast and also with me having a LinkedIn. So,
good on you.
So this has been great. This is great for me to be able to talk to you. You are someone who inspires me and also someone who helps me actively with anything that I have problems with, anything in the field of entrepreneurship, and I really value that. So this makes me really happy that you were the first guest for something that came about because of all your help. The second season with me trying to make it bigger is basically me borrowing your mindset as an entrepreneur of creating something and making it better and bigger. So thank you so much for being here. And is there anything else that you would like to say? I think we should mention Catch Up with Ocean.
Now we're competitors. So yeah, I started a podcast as well. So it's called Catch Up with Ocean.
Was the podcast that you created? Was it before I created my podcast, or was it after I created my podcast? I just wanted on the record, look, I've seen Social Network. I've seen those movies. I know what happens. We're gonna fight over $50 billion. So I just want some evidence here.
But so we do really different things.
Yeah.
So I have a really strong interest in student entrepreneurship.
Oh no, definitely. Like the concept of podcast is not mine, and what you're doing is great.
Yeah. So I have a really strong interest in student entrepreneurship, innovation, employability, international education. So I would invite different, so my friends, like a lot of my friends to come and just have a chat, have a catch up.
Yeah.
I guess what I see is like, I'm really lucky, I know people, but a lot of students, they may put more time to their study or to work or doing other things. So I'm just thinking, how about when I catch up with other people, I film it for 10, 15 minutes and I post it on my LinkedIn and share with other people. So it's more like building connections between my connections and other connections, so people can have more conversations to know what people are doing. So I invite people from students to minister,
of course.
entrepreneurs to investors to come to just have a chit chat and talk about stuff. Kind of encourage other people and have a conversation.
Isn't that also in a way goes on the same theme of startup interns, is that you're getting people together with people like?
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, business is all about connections, all about human, right? So, and look at all those startups like Uber, Airbnb, they are all bringing people together, or building
yeah.
community. Like look at Facebook, Twitter, like all the social medias, they do the same thing as well.
So thank you so much for being here. And as a signature catch up with Ocean greeting, we'll high five now.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you hopefully for the next one.